Good morning. What if I told you that if God could change his law, Jesus would never have needed to die? Well, let that particularly sink. If heaven could simply adjust the standard or even edit a command or revise a requirement, then Calvary was unnecessary. Then the cross wasn't needed at all. But the truth is that Christ did die, which means something eternal was actually at stake. Well, if the law could bend, the cross would be meaningless. If the law would be rewritten, the nails were excessive. If obedience were optional, then the blood was unnecessary. So here is the uncomfortable question. If God's law is unchangeable, why have some felt bold enough to actually adjust it? Why replace the seventh day Sabbath with another day, with Sunday? If the command was written by the finger of God, who authorized the commandment of Sunday? Why introduce images and objects of devotion when the command plainly warns against bowing to curved representations, whether they be of saints or whosoever? If the law was so sacred that Christ had to die for its violation, then who decided parts of it could be softened or rearranged or reinterpreted? Well, think carefully, beloved. If the law was abolished at the cross, then Christ endured agony to grant rebellion, legitimacy. In other words, that would mean the adversary accusations were correct. That would mean God yielded to the evil one. But Calvary declares the very, very opposite. The cross did not cancel the law. Well, it confirmed the law. It confirmed it. Well, when Christ bore the penalty of sin, he proved the law doesn't release the sinner from its claims. Well, the wages of sin still stand as death. And he stepped into the wage. Christ stepped into the wage of sin. One inspired Christian voice from the 19th century once said or once observed that the very necessity of Christ's death is the strongest argument in the universe that God's law is changeless. Well, that justice and mercy unite perfectly in his government. And history supports the tension. One man called Charles Spurgeon says God's law is as unchangeable, guess what, as his throne. Grace does not erase the standard. Grace actually fulfills its penalty. So the real question is not whether the law changed. That's not the real question. Well, the real question is, have we human beings, have we changed? Because if the cross proves anything, well, it proves that God would rather die than alter his righteousness.